The radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way.
We're not getting the leadership that we need to bring this country together from the White House.
On the radical left, they now view violence as okay, or they laugh at it, or they smirk at it.
This isn't like one party committing all the violence against the other. We are more divided than we have been probably in my lifetime.
Well, let's discuss the state of politics, the political climate in the U.S., and other topics. Joining me is former West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. He's the author of the new book, Dead Center, in Defense of Common Sense. Senator, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Brett. Good to be with you.
I just want to ask you, 30,000 feet, what do you think of this moment, after last week and where we are?
Well, let me say, every American's heart should go out when you lose anybody to violence the way Charlie Kirk lost his life. And I think all of our West Virginians, our heart goes out to his family, and we're extremely praying for his children and all of them to hopefully be able to recover from this, but it's going to be very difficult. With that being said, this can't be accepted anywhere in America. This is not normal. It's not who we are, and we all have to calm down this rhetoric. We're responsible as elected officials. If the people we represent see all of us back and forth and blaming everybody, Brett basically says, okay, it's okay for me to do it too. If that's what the party leaders are doing, if that's the people that represent me in my government, then it must be okay. It's not okay. It's not how we built this country. We need to come back together. This is about the American party, not about the Democrat or Republican. And we have extremes on both sides. The bottom line is, the book I have there, Dead Center, basically shows you that you can work together, but you've got to work at it. People don't know each other. And Brett, when a person basically, I know some family members we were talking to, they were upset because different back and forth over the death of Charlie Kirk, and they're basically with one click unfriending people. I says, do you ever talk about what your differences may be? Do you ever meet face to face, or you just basically click on and click off? No one's interacting, and even in Washington, they're not talking. That's what's wrong. Get together for the sake of our country, from the president on down. I'm hoping that inner angel, that angel inside of all of us, we all have a better angel. I hope that better angel talks to us so that we can talk to each other.
You've come on this show numerous times throughout your time in Washington. We appreciate that, and you've always been somebody who's been a straight shooter with us. I did one of the last interviews when you announced you were not coming back, and you were kind of stepping away. And I asked you about Washington. Take a listen. Is Washington broken as you're leaving here?
It's as challenging as I've ever seen it. I'm saying broken. I don't know how you could break America. I think our Resolute is so strong. I think we as Americans aren't going to let that happen. Now, is it been tested, and is it being pushed as far as we possibly have ever done? Yeah, I think so. And what's the purpose? The purpose is to serve.
Now, do you think that the Democratic Party, your party, has gone far left in most cases? We just did a story on the New York City mayor's race and the New York governor endorsing him, Zohran Mamdani. What do you think of the state of the Democratic Party?
Well, I think both parties, the Democratic Party has gone extremely left. I told President Biden, I says, I can't believe how far left and how liberal your administration is. And this is not who America. They want that center left, center right. They don't want the extremes. They want basically things done. They want a secured border. They want safe neighborhoods. And also we want legalized immigration so people can come to this country for the right reason. We should be working on all that. No one's talking about the debt of the nation. No one's talking about the education, that basically we aren't, in any category leading in the world. Healthcare could be a lot better. All these things we have to work through. But it can't be if you're playing the blame game. And I'm asking the Democratic Party, you better start looking at how you lost people like me. I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm fiscally responsible and socially compassionate, Brett, and I come from West Virginia. And now I can't even identify with the far left ideology. So they better figure out, they lost 167,000 people who are registered Democrats since the November election. Something's wrong. They don't want you to control their lives. They want you to be their partner. They don't want you basically to prevent us from being able to do our job.
But you know,
We
people
have to work.
in our polls, for example, this latest Fox News poll on political divisions, what's most important for you facing the country? The economy is way up there, and then you have immigration, border security, healthcare. Political divisions are down at 11%. Yet you would think, you know, judging by where we are and how much we talk about that, that it's driving the day. Are we as divided, after all those years you spent on Capitol Hill, as people think we are?
Well, when I go back home or when I go out around the country, people want to be together. They come up to me and we talk and everything. They appreciate trying to work from the middle. Brett, when you have about 50% of people who are identified as voting in our election process that are no party affiliation like myself, and only 23 or 24% are Democrats and only 26 or 27% Republican, something's wrong. Both parties have to figure out, how do we get that middle? In the last election, all you all talked about, Brett, during the election in November was the 7 battleground states. 43 were already predetermined. In the book, we talk about how do you bring people back together? How do you respond to the people? Basically, I said I took an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution and the people I work for as the people in West Virginia. If I can't go home and explain it, I can't basically vote for it. Well, I can't explain where the National Democratic Party has gotten itself to in the far, far left, liberal side of this society of ours. It's not who we are. And I like to see my Republican friends also reach across. There are Democrats you can work with. You have to spend some time to know each other. Hey, Brett, we're not in Washington that often. You know that. They come in Monday night at 5:30. They're gone Thursday at 2. Very seldom they ever interact. There's only one bipartisan lunch during the year, and that was a Johnny Isaacson lunch. Other than that, they eat separately. They do whatever they do separately. They go home and they do their thing. You have to start working together. It's easy to say no to someone you don't know. It's hard to say no to your friends.
But once you start using labels like fascists or Hitler or threat to democracy, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah, I know, but you have to be bigger than that. Names, I mean, people have been calling people names forever. The bottom line is, you know, this country is not a fascist country. We're never going to be a fascist country. And to start, first of all, do you believe in the process? We have a representative form of democracy. When the people speak, whether you vote for the president or not, that's your president, whether it be he or she. If you're president, you want to do everything you can to make them successful. If your president's successful, our country's successful. We should all be working together. But when you're throwing stones from day one that you want someone to fail, and both sides have done it, it's awful. And we can't, basically, we're straining these bonds of Americanism that we have and democracy that we love, and thinking that basically we can't make it. We won't make it if we don't participate. People have to participate in this government, and if you stand still, you don't vote, or all you're doing is casting stones back and forth, you will destroy us.
Senator, we appreciate the time. The book is Dead Center in Defense of Common Sense. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Brett. I appreciate it very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.